You've written a powerful and detailed story here. A slow, devastating unraveling of a marriage, captured with vivid imagery and deep emotional layering. It really grips the reader and holds their sympathy for David as he navigates betrayal and regains control of his life. Your pacing is deliberate, allowing the weight of each moment to settle, and the transition from doubt to realization to action feels authentic and earned. Here's a quick evaluation of what you've done well and a few areas you might want to fine-tune if you're looking to polish it further. Strengths: emotional buildup. You carefully layer David's suspicion, hurt, anger, and resolution in a way that feels natural and relatable. Characterization: Olivia's portrayal is sharp. You show her charm, her manipulative side, and her ultimate downfall without explicitly saying, "She's the villain." Pacing: the slow escalation, from subtle discomfort to open betrayal, mirrors the collapse of trust beautifully. Setting and mood: the contrast between the beautiful resort and the ugly truth is excellent. It mirrors David's internal realization perfectly. Potential improvements: paragraph breaks for impact. Some of your paragraphs are long. Breaking them up a bit more would help the emotional beats land harder, especially moments like David overhearing Olivia or when he cancels the cards. Dialogue. Naturalism. A few bits of dialogue, like Olivia's friends' lines, feel slightly on the nose. People in real life are often a little more indirect or subtle when being catty or boastful. A tweak here could make it even more biting. Sensory details. You could sharpen a few key moments by adding tiny sensory details. For instance, what did the lobby smell like? What noise did the declined credit card machine make? A few more textures would pull the reader deeper in. Emotional. Aftermath. You did a great job showing David's immediate empowerment, but you might also hint slightly at the emotional fallout, e.g., sadness, nostalgia, not just relief, to deepen his humanity. If you want, I can help you polish it into something closer to a publish-ready short story, adjusting flow, tightening dialogue, sharpening beats. Would you like me to do a revised, polished version for you? Or if you prefer, I could show you a sample of how I'd edit just a small section first. Wow, what you've written is powerful. It reads like the climax and aftermath of a deeply emotional, high-stakes story about betrayal, justice, and finally, freedom. Here's a brief critique to help you if you're thinking about polishing or expanding it further. Strengths: emotional depth. You capture David's mix of relief, sadness, and clarity perfectly. It feels raw and honest. Pacing. The escalation, from ignored calls to full social collapse for Olivia, is very natural. It keeps the reader hooked. Character arcs. David's transformation from trapped and manipulated to peaceful and empowered is satisfying. Olivia's downfall, harsh but believable. Dialogue. Natural and punchy, especially during confrontations, like Olivia's desperate calls. Areas for potential improvement. Paragraph structure. Since it's a long piece, it would read even better, with clearer paragraph breaks, especially during key moments, when emotions spike, like Olivia getting the divorce papers. Internal reflection. David could have slightly more moments of introspection. For example, a few more lines reflecting how he changed internally beyond just logistical independence. Olivia's downfall. You do a good job showing her unraveling, but a tiny flashback of why she became so dependent could make her less one-dimensional. Not to excuse her behavior, just to add depth. Consistency. Watch for small typos and minor tense shifts. Sheck instead of she'd a couple of times. Normally instead of normalcy. GGES looks like an error. Overall, you've written the bones of an excellent, emotionally resonant story. With a little tightening, you could turn this into either a novella chapter or an amazing short story. Would you like me to help you edit and restructure this into a more polished final draft? If so, I can even split it into neat sections like the break, the fallout, the healing, and the future to make it flow even better. Of course. Here's a clean, polished rewrite of your text, maintaining your story's heart while improving flow, structure, and emotional impact. After everything, trying to fix things was only met with contempt and indifference. "Take care of yourself, Olivia," I said, ending the call. After that, she reached out less and less. Jacob mentioned she had finally started looking for work, though progress was slow. She was learning the hard way that the world doesn't cater to those who take it for granted. As for me, I focused on the future. I wasn't bitter anymore. I was simply free. Olivia's isolation was the natural consequence of her choices. I wished her no harm, but I had no intention of letting her drag me back into her chaos. Life without Olivia was quieter, simpler, and full of opportunities I hadn't even realized I'd been missing. For the first time in years, I was truly at peace. Months passed after Olivia left, leaving behind the wreckage of our marriage. In that time, I built something stronger, something more fulfilling, not just for myself, but for Lily and Ethan, too. It hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. Still, sometimes her apology echoed in my mind. Her voice, so uncharacteristically soft, had struck a chord in me. For years, she had consumed all the attention while I quietly supported her. Hearing her admit fault was unexpected, but it wasn't enough to undo what had been broken. One afternoon, as I worked in my home office, my phone buzzed. It was Olivia. I hesitated, then answered. "David," she began, her voice hesitant. "I was wondering, could we meet? Just to talk, in person." "About what?" I asked, careful not to let my guard down. "Everything," she said. I need to apologize properly." After a long pause, I agreed. "Tomorrow. The cafe near the park. Noon." The next day, I arrived early, my emotions tangled between curiosity and apprehension. Olivia walked in a few minutes later, looking different. No designer clothes, no perfectly styled hair. She looked tired, humbled, like someone who had been through a storm and was still finding her footing. "Thank you for coming," she said, sitting across from me. I nodded, waiting. "I've had a lot of time to think," she began, hands clasped tightly together. "About us, about what I did to you, to our family. I was selfish. You gave me everything, and I repaid you by treating you like you didn't matter." Her words were raw, unpolished, and they caught me off guard. "I don't know if you could ever forgive me," she continued, voice breaking, "but I needed to tell you. I'm sorry. For the lies, the manipulation, for making you feel invisible." I searched her face for any sign of insincerity. I saw none. Just a woman broken by her own choices, trying to piece herself back together. "I appreciate the apology," I said finally. "But Olivia, forgiveness doesn't mean things can go back to the way they were. Too much has happened. I can't trust you again. Not the way I used to." She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I understand," she whispered. "I just needed to say it. Even if it's only words." We sat in silence, the weight of the past, heavy between us. "How are the kids?" she asked softly. "They're doing well," I replied. "They miss you, but they're adjusting. I've tried to keep things stable for them." She gave a small, bittersweet smile. "You're a good father, David. Better than I ever gave you credit for." For years, I had been the steady force in our family, the quiet anchor, and hearing her acknowledge it was both validating and bittersweet. "I'll always be there for them," I said, "and I hope you will too." "I will," she promised. "I'm trying to rebuild my life, to be someone they can be proud of again." We parted ways that day with no reconciliation, but with something close to closure, the start of healing from old wounds. In the weeks that followed, Olivia made real efforts to change. She reached out to the kids more often, attended school events, and tried to reconnect. I gave her that space, knowing it was important for Lily and Ethan. As for me, I kept moving forward. I had met someone new, Emily, a kind, genuine woman who valued me not for what I could provide, but for who I was. Our relationship was still new, but it felt different. It felt real. One evening, sitting on the porch with Emily watching the sunset, I realized how far I had come. The betrayal that once consumed me now felt like a distant memory. Olivia's apology had reminded me that wounds could heal, but it also strengthened my resolve. I would never again settle for less than I deserved. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And for the first time in years, I was exactly where I was meant to be. The early morning sun filtered through the living room window, casting a warm glow across the room. It was a new day, another step forward in a life that was finally my own. I sipped coffee at the kitchen table while Lily and Ethan chattered excitedly about their weekend plans. Their laughter filled the house, a reminder of what truly mattered. It hadn't been easy to get here. The road from betrayal to healing had been fraught with anger, heartbreak, and doubt. But looking at my children and the life we were rebuilding, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. "Dad, can we go to the park later?" Ethan asked, his eyes bright with excitement. "Of course," I said, smiling. "Let's pack a picnic and make a day of it." Lily grinned. "Can Emily come too?" Her question caught me off guard, but only for a moment. Emily had become a quiet, constant presence in our lives, her warmth and kindness slowly weaving into the fabric of our family. "I'll ask her," I said casually, "but either way, we're going." Later that afternoon at the park, Emily arrived with a basket full of snacks, her easy smile lighting up the day. Lily and Ethan raced ahead to the playground while we set up, under a shady tree. "You're spoiling them," I teased as she unpacked cookies and sandwiches. "They deserve it," she said with a shrug. "And so do you." Her words made me pause. For so long, I had believed my worth was tied solely to what I could provide. Emily reminded me that I was enough, just as I was. As the day went on, I watched my kids play, their laughter filling the air. Emily sat beside me, her hand resting lightly on mine, and I realized something profound. I was happy, truly, deeply happy. Meanwhile, Olivia continued her own journey. She had found a job at a small boutique, far from the high society events she once thrived in. It was humbling work, but it seemed to be teaching her the value of effort and responsibility. She called the kids regularly, attended their school events, and genuinely tried to be part of their lives. The bitterness between us had faded, replaced by a tentative, respectful truce. One evening, after a school play, Olivia approached me in the parking lot. "David," she said, her voice tentative, "thank you for letting me be part of their lives. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm grateful." I nodded. "It's not about what you deserve, Olivia. It's about what they deserve. And they deserve to have both parents in their corner." She wiped at her eyes, but said nothing more. We parted ways, not as enemies, not as friends, but as two people who had finally made peace with the past. As the months passed, my life continued to bloom in unexpected ways. Emily and I grew closer, building a relationship rooted in trust and mutual respect. She encouraged me to pursue long-neglected hobbies, photography, hiking, even cooking. One evening, as we prepared dinner together, she looked at me thoughtfully. "David," she said, "have you ever thought about what's next? Not just for Us. But for you? I paused, considering. I think I'm already living it, I said. For the first time in years. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. She smiled, her eyes full of warmth. I'm glad, she said. You deserve this. And as the days turned to weeks, and the weeks into months, I knew she was right. Life wasn't perfect. It never would be. But it was real. And it was mine. The road that brought me here had been long and painful, but it had also been necessary. Olivia's chapter in my life had ended, but it left behind lessons I would carry forever: the importance of self-respect, the power of forgiveness, and the value of authenticity. Standing on the porch one evening, Emily by my side, watching Lily and Ethan play in the yard, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. This was my new beginning, and I was ready for it.